Atom Audio has recently released a new series of monitors that branch out into the entry-level home and project studio market with their T-Series monitors. These compete with the KRK Rocket, JBL, LSR, and Yamaha HS Series monitors, and they reached out and asked if I would be interested in doing a review of the new T-Series monitors, in particular the T5V model. So we're going to start with an unboxing and overview of the specs, and then I'll give my thoughts on these monitors at the end of the video. Now, there were no stipulations between Atom Audio and myself regarding my review, so being that I've always been forthright with you guys about the software and hardware I review and use, just know that the opinions I give of these monitors will be that of my own and not any propaganda. With that, let's go ahead and unbox these puppies. Okay, so first we've got a welcome card, which also has warranty information. We then have a quick start guide. The full manual for the T5V can actually be downloaded from Atom Audio's website. Save the trees, I like it. A power cable, like a PC power cable, so we can get those electrons to the speaker. And now for what we all came for, the speaker itself. So as you can see, the T5V has a clean, minimalist design, which I actually really like. We've got beveled edges on the side, two drivers, and the Atom Audio logo at the bottom. And let's just get into some of the specs for these monitors. As I've mentioned, we've got two drivers which are bi-amped, 50 watts for the woofer and 20 watts for the tweeter using Class D amplifiers. The woofer is a 5-inch polypropylene cone for lows down to 45 Hz. The tweeter is a 1.9-inch ribbon design, which Atom Audio actually refers to as UART, or Unique Accelerated Ribbon Tweeter. And these are actually folded by hand in the Atom Audio factory, which I think is a pretty cool touch. No pun intended. And besides all of the fancy names and acronyms, the ribbon tweeter is going to provide you a larger surface area than your typical cone tweeter, which is going to translate into lower distortion at higher levels and longer listening sessions without ear fatigue. One thing that I personally noticed about this when I was listening to some of my mixes is that I didn't so much feel the need to turn up the volume to hear certain aspects of the mix like I have in the past, or kind of turn my head to the side to try to hear what's going on in the mix. Even at low levels, I could still hear everything. The tweeter is surrounded by Atom's HFP waveguide, which gives a wider sweet spot and phantom center, and this is actually based on technology taken from their S-series monitors. Moving on to the back, we've got a port at the top of the speaker for extended bass response. Again, according to the tech specs, the low frequency response is listed down to 45 Hz. And I don't think I mentioned the highs are actually up to 25 kilohertz. We then have DSP control for high and low frequencies with the option to boost or cut by 2 dB. By default, these are set to 0, which is going to give you a flat response. Next, we have an input level control, which has a range from -60 dB to +18 dB. Beneath that, we have our inputs and can choose between a balanced XLR input or unbalanced RCA. You could actually have two discrete sources connected to the monitors and just use the provided switch to choose between the two. By default, these are going to be set to the XLR, so if you're going to use the RCA inputs, be sure that you change the switch before getting started. I didn't do this when I first connected the speakers and was wondering where my audio was for a second there. And of course, at the bottom, we finally have a hard switch for power and input for the supplied power cable. And just know that the LED indicator for power is on the back of the monitors. So besides all of the numbers and the specs, how do the T5Vs actually sound? Well, I spent quite a bit of time listening to everything. Everything from Radiohead to Bjork to Ghostmane to Childish Gambino, some classical, jazz, Stevie Wonder. I listened to everything, and also including some of my old mixes and new mixes that I had done, which was pretty interesting. And I just actually took some notes casually throughout the process so I could remember everything that I wanted to let you guys know as far as what I was thinking about these monitors. So some of these notes that I put down are that the mids and highs sound three-dimensional to me versus a flat two-dimensional sound. It's kind of like sitting inside of the music versus hearing it coming at you from the front, so to speak. And of course, it's going to sound cliche, but I heard sounds that I had never heard before in a lot of the music and the mixes that I played back. There's a clear separation of instruments and vocals in a lot of the tracks, particularly the ones that were well produced. I have to say that I think Radiohead has some of the best audio engineers out there, given all of the music that I listened to while checking out these monitors. Now, another note that I have is that these reminded me of kind of like a warm sonic microscope that you don't have to turn up too loud. They're very comfortable and accurate at low levels, and I mentioned this before. Even if I listened to my mixes at a low level, I could hear all of the details in the tracks, and I didn't feel like I needed to crank these up really loud, which you shouldn't do anyway when you're mixing, to hear everything that's going on. Now, currently I am working in a larger room, so I feel like if I were to continue using these, then I would want to get a sub eventually for the really lows to bring those out a bit. If you are working in a smaller room and have wood floors, for instance, then I don't think that that's going to be so much of an issue for you. Again, this all goes back to acoustics and the dynamics of your room. I'm in an untreated room that has carpet and it's pretty large, so just keep that in mind. Another thing that these monitors made me realize while listening back is how much mixing engineers and mastering engineers are actually artists in their own right. Audio landscapes almost seem to be painted, and hearing the details that these monitors reproduce was actually pretty amazing. So all in all, would I recommend the T5Vs? Absolutely. Particularly the level of detail in the mids and the highs was pretty amazing, and one other thing that I forgot to mention was that I actually heard digital clipping in some of my mixes that I have not heard on any other speakers. When mixing and rendering down the audio, I knew that there was some digital clipping, but since I hadn't heard it, I thought that it was fine. And now when I listen to some of those mixes, they actually sound terrible, the clipping. So the clarity and definition that these monitors provide is definitely worth the investment, and currently they retail for about $400 US, which I think is a great price and allows us home and project producers entry into the Atom Audio monitors. So that's about it for this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next video.